Before I knew anything about Undertale the game, I had heard about Undertale's fans. I feel like this is true for most casual game players and internet users. There's some fandoms that sort of take over and eat their own tail in a lot of ways. Remember when Rick and Morty fans were ironically causing disturbances inside of McDonald's because of a throwaway joke in a bad cartoon? I remember. Undertale had that same sort of reputation, but I had no idea why. It just seemed like a goofy 32-bit game from the outside looking in, and I never really understood why people were so obsessed with it. Similarly, I think it's interesting how, on the internet, the backlash to something can be just as annoying and cringy as the annoying thing that they are making fun of. Like, I never once saw anything about Undertale, but I heard a million people complain about Undertale fans and how horrible they were. The backlash to the noise is somehow louder, like when a kid is yelling in a grocery store and then the mom yells at them even louder about how they're out in public and they shouldn't be yelling! But actually the main person who's causing a commotion is the mother yelling at the children and not the child itself. Anyway, I finally sat down and played Undertale. It went on Game Pass, so I figured, why the hell not? It didn't seem like a very long game, and I appreciate indie games and all the unique aspects of them. I don't remember the last time I played an RPG either, especially sort of a turn-based combat style RPG like Undertale. Undertale is an old school RPG, so it doesn't have the complexity and depth of the modern RPG, at least not on the surface. And most crucially for me, it does not have the gargantuan runtime of modern RPGs. I know for some people, the runtime of a game is something that sells them on buying it. People want to sink dedicated hours and hours into a game. They want to buy one game for months and focus all of their time on completing as many side quests as possible within that game. Most of the time, that will turn me away from a game quicker than anything else. It's like if I find out there's a delicious burger place that is so good, even Guy Fieri went there. Yeah, the Guy Fieri. But it's located 3 hours away. The burger might be amazing, but it's not worth the time that I would have to dedicate in order to experience that burger. The time dedication requirement of most RPGs make them so intimidating that I don't even bother to look at them. Plus, the monotonous game loop tendencies of many games in the genre as well cause them to be simply unapproachable. Undertale is a throwback to a different type of RPG. It features many of the same mechanics. Turn-based combat, an inventory system, dialogue encounters with NPCs, and a leveling system. But all of these are short and to the point rather than being drawn out extensive systems to build hundreds of hours of gameplay around. The combat of the game is simple, but effective. It's a turn-based bullet hell system. Every enemy encounter has their own attacks and rhythm that you have to learn as you go along. It takes a good amount of talent to become proficient at it, and that is an improvement on many RPG combat systems where the combat is just a full passive experience where you click the button and watch what happens rather than actually playing anything. As the game goes along, the combat gets more and more intense, especially with various bosses that you have to fight. For me, it took a while to kill these bosses, but eventually I found a system to do so. The twist in the game, the selling point of it, in fact, is that I did not actually have to learn how to kill those bosses at all. There was an entirely different process of approaching the game. By going in cold, I didn't know this at all. While I learned further into the game that there were unique ways of approaching combat to basically avoid murder, and instead approach it with friendship, I had already murdered many different characters along the way. I had, accidentally, committed myself to what's called a genocide run, which is what the game calls the violent ending that you achieve if you kill the bosses rather than finding this alternate approach. This is a pretty genius little twist on gaming in general, and it has a lot of commentary behind it. My gut instinct within the game world, without even thinking about it, was to kill. Even Toriel, the lovely, motherly character who just wants to take care of the human at the beginning of the game and give us butterscotch pie, I killed without a second thought, because I believed that that was the only way to progress in the game. So many games present violence and murder as the only option. It is the only path forward in most games. But Undertale places the choice of violence at the center, and it does so without you even realizing it potentially until the end of the game. And the reveal of the pain and the anguish that you've been leaving behind you is haunting. Now, I didn't kill every single character that I encountered. For instance, I tried to save the dogs. I also saved Papyrus. I tried to save the characters that had endeared themselves to me throughout the game, but many characters I killed just because I wanted to progress through the game. That was my primary purpose beyond anything else. I think that says a lot about gaming and the base assumptions that gamers have. We value completion and progress more than our actions within the game. Of course, these characters, they're not real. So not viewing them as real is not some sort of inhumane, psychopathic action, but it does show the disconnect between reality and gaming really well through the twist at the end. At this point, I'd love to talk more about Undertale's plotline, but the problem is that there are many different versions and endings and twists and Easter eggs and turns of the plot, and I don't think I could ever actually do it any justice in this video. Plus, the game is kind of old and very popular, so there are probably like a million different videos that break down the intricate details of all the branching options that can be taken within the game. Needless to say, the characters are complex and they're interesting. They have different motivations that guide them in different spots. Their dialogue is routinely very funny, while still giving you insight into them as characters. I think that's the most impressive aspect of this game as a whole. It is very, very funny. Normally, most games don't make me laugh. Most of the time, moments that are supposed to be played for laughs only make me kind of wince in pain, but this game was almost always clever about their jokes. Again, the jokes could be a mechanical choice that undermines player expectations. Puzzles that solve themselves, dogs that stop attacking you if they are a pet, a tech helper in the distance who hacks their way through things, but who you are routinely faster than, a rock that talks back to you when you try and push it. The characters themselves are also very funny, but more than that, the environment is funny. Random objects and jokes can serve as helpful hints while also still being jokes themselves. Every aspect of the game is built around this comedy, and the timing of these jokes are oftentimes top-notch. I can appreciate the game outside of its commentary of violence and gaming as a whole just because of the humor, and because it's entertaining. I think that, in and of itself, means a lot. There are a lot of games that I play that I really enjoy, and that make me think a lot, but are not games that I sit down and have a blast playing them. Undertale somehow strikes a balance between those two things, and that's a really impressive feat. The game also features great music and great attention to detail. I always give incredible credence to games that are made with small teams, and Toby Fox basically made most of this game alone. That's a damn impressive feat to do something this creative and bold with a small team. And I think the fact that so many people connected to it shows that it was a success, despite maybe the crazy fans that cannot stop coming up with fan theories for every single character and blip within the game. I think Undertale is worth playing without any context, with just dropping into it and experiencing outside the analysis and the breakdowns, the fandoms, the YouTube videos about it, ironically, and the backlash to the fandom. Like a lot of things in this world, it's simply better without all the noise. But I guess I am currently contributing to that noise. So, whoops. Anyway, play Undertale. Bye.